Salutations, Illumineers, and welcome back to the Lorcana Rundown. I'm Silver.
I'm Andrew.
And it turns out next week's show was a little more than next week. I apologize. Finals week was a little rough for the both of us, but we are here now. And if there is one thing we have learned over the last week and a half, 2 weeks of tournament results, it's that Ruby Amethyst is mean.
Yeah.
It's rude. It was bad before with all of its control options, but now it has the added aggressive lore gain from what we're lovingly calling a boy and his goat.
Indeed, yeah, it is a rough combo, and today we are going to talk about what it is and how to stop it.
So, first off, the goat combo or Merlin Mim package, whatever you want to call it, slots into a lot of decks. I've seen it in pairings with Steel, I've seen it with Emerald, and I've seen it with Ruby. Not so much with Sapphire, which, my bad, that's the one I thought we would for sure go with, given the ink ramp. But it turns out that you actually can make this work on a relatively light ink pool.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, it's not that expensive. I mean, the most expensive one you have is, like, we have right here is a Merlin Goat. And even if you wanted to, like, go even more than that, the Madam Mim Dragon's the most expensive one for $7.
Yeah.
So
my real concern with the whole thing was just that Merlin, Rabbit, and Arthur are both uninkable.
yeah.
And you know me, I hate going more than 14 uninkables in a deck, and it just seems like I always end up with so much competition for those slots, especially running Ruby, because you've got Dragonfires you might want to put in. You've definitely got Be Prepareds you're going to want to put in.
Yeah.
If you're running that control shell, and why aren't you running the control shell? Ruby's just good at that.
Yeah, the Ruby Amethyst deck that we've seen with these, I mean, it's a mixture of just like aggression, but also has a little bit of control, and it's a fun combo to deal with. And
by fun, he means really, really hard to deal with when you're on the other side of the table. It's just hard to keep up with a deck that can put down so much lore early game and still lock you down, keep your stuff controlled. It's got Madam Mim Fox here that's going to be an early rusher to remove your bigger lore gain early on.
Yeah.
It's got Madam Mim Snake to protect its early lore gain. You'll see this deck running things like Pinocchio and Maleficent. Remember when we said Maleficent and Amethyst was bad? The uninkable one? Not anymore. She does things now.
Oh, yeah.
She has a shell. But what you really want to watch out for is turn 3 Merlin, turn 4 Goat, or basically turn 3 Arthur. I'm sorry.
Turn 3 Arthur.
Turn 3 Arthur. Words are hard.
Yeah, once you see that turn 3 Arthur come down, you got to find a way to remove it. Best way to do that, I mean, if you're playing Ruby, Dragonfire, it should be a top target just because they are going to keep bouncing things back and forth. And it doesn't have to just be Merlin. They could bounce back Madam Mim just to protect some of their other stuff. Or if they have Madam Mim Fox, they want to bounce that back just to protect it so they could rush into something again. Yeah. They'll do that.
I've seen that. I've had that happen to me a couple of times.
Yeah.
Arthur is just as a 3-drop, he's difficult to answer early. He's got 3 willpower, so you can't hit him with Teeth and Ambitions.
Yeah.
Which would be my preferred way to deal with it that early. Deal 2 damage, great. Because it's singable. So if you've got somebody that can sing a 2-cost song, you've got your Teeth and Ambitions covered. Dragonfire is a 5-drop, and that's not a song. So that's going to be kind of too late, almost, to deal with Arthur. And if they're able to drop the LeFou or some other, ready him some other way,
yeah,
it's hard.
I know for me, since I've been playing a lot of Emerald Amethyst, basically whenever I've seen Arthur or other key pieces out, I've been Mother's Knows Best, Genie, bouncing it back, because any type of disruption, even if you're bouncing back the Arthur or bouncing back key pieces, you're going to be in a good spot, I've found.
I will say that specifically with Arthur, bouncing it back with an ability like Mother Knows Best does seem like a good play just because it is uninkable. It's going to sit there in their hand until they have another 3 ink. Yeah. That slows them down by a good 2 turns.
For sure.
Because this is a deck that doesn't want to get off pace once it hits that groove. Bonus points if you're able to hit them with a Mother Knows Best and then immediately make them discard it.
Yeah, that's really
that's
good.
That's an ideal situation. If you've got 2 singers out, you can do Mother Knows Best and Sudden Chill, but when do we ever have ideal situations like that?
Yeah, for sure.
For my friends in Steel, one solution I've found, because I've been playing Ruby Steel, is pick a fight.
Yeah.
It's a 2-drop, and if you have a 1-drop with 3 power on it challenges, like Captain Hook or Felicia the Cat from set 2, she can just, one of those can just run right in there, ping him, and, your day is done.
Yeah.
Because most of the decks running this shell don't have the discard recursion.
Yeah.
To bring him back. So watch out for it, and if you know you're going to be up against this kind of a shell, try to mulligan to make sure you have an answer in hand. Because if he comes out turn 3, turn 4, they're going to get a good chunk of lore.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something that you need to prepare for and mulligan for, because if you know what you're going against, you know that Arthur is going to be out there causing issues, you're going to want to be able to answer it as quickly as humanly possible.
So one thing I have noticed, and I'm going to kind of fish through your deck a little bit here while I talk. My initial reaction every time I see this turn 1 is kill the lizard. Can't see that there. Kill the lizard. We all hate Pascal. We don't want to see him have friends. He's evasive. He's annoying. He's 1 lore.
I've got no issue with Pascal.
Oh, as an Emerald Amethyst player for life, I love Pascal. But when I'm playing against Pascal, I always end up burning targeted removal on him.
Sure.
And he's not the real threat when you're playing Amethyst decks for the most part right now. Your threat is Arthur. If you have early game removal, wait until you see the Arthur.
Yeah.
Don't let them bait you with the Pascal. Don't let them bait you with a Flynn or something like that. Wait for the Arthur.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Pascal only quests for 1. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, it's something that you'll probably have to deal with later, like in the late game if it's still around. But you're going to find ways to remove that a lot easier than you are the Arthur.
He's a 1/1. Eventually, you'll get to him. He doesn't generate 4 lore like Arthur does when you quest with a goat, quest with Arthur, bounce the goat.
Yeah.
So it's hard, friends. It really is, but try to save that removal for the Arthur if you're up against an Amethyst deck. At least until you know they don't have Arthur.
Yeah.
So you have played in the Emerald Amethyst deck we're running.
Yeah.
You've played something similar to this, but we don't run the Arthurs.
Right.
Why don't we run the Arthurs?
Number 1, for what we're trying to do with Amethyst Emerald, we are more focused on trying to win out with lore count the hard way, while also maintaining control on the board with things like Cusco, Genies, Mother Knows Best, and going that route. With Arthur, there's just no real spot for him right now. Mm-hmm. And it's going to get to, and putting him in there feels like I'm doing too much at once with the deck.
So would you say that Arthur is a must slot if you're playing Amethyst, or is he still something that's very conditional? Like if you're going to build around him, but don't force him into every purple deck.
Yeah, I would say it just depends on what you're building. If you're going to build around Arthur, then of course, obviously have the Arthur. Do I think he's a must-have in every Amethyst deck? No, I don't think so. He's very good, don't get me wrong. He's very solid. He's a solid card. But at the same time, I don't think he's a card that you need to have in every single Amethyst deck. It's not like when you're running Ruby, you run Be Prepared.
I've seen a lot of Ruby lists cutting Be Prepared, so it's funny that you say that.
Well, my opinion, that's not necessarily the best play. I think if you're playing Ruby, you're running Be Prepared no matter what the list is. Same thing goes for, what was the other deck? Well, it's same thing with like Emerald decks when people run Flynn, the two lore Flynn Rider. That's usually a must in most green decks as well.
There have been arguments made to pull him and put in Enchantress, but in a world where Steel exists, Enchantress doesn't live through Big Tank, Flynn does. So. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my opinions on the matter.
I really feel like I underestimated this. I know I said that at the beginning of the episode because I thought you were going to need so much ink to bounce something back to hand, then replay it. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that you can stay right on tempo. It's really surprised me.
Yeah,
it's outperformed my expectations.
Yeah, no, it doesn't take that much to really get it going, honestly. Because, I mean, you got to think about it. You're playing at turn 3. Turn 4, you can start with the Merlin shenanigans with the goat or the rabbit if you want to start drawing cards.
Oh, the card draw from the rabbit.
Oh, yeah, you get a lot of card draw from that rabbit.
Oh, that stupid rabbit. And removing the rabbit does nothing because they still get a card.
Yeah, you gotta pick your battles, that's for sure.
So with Arthur out of the equation, which do you think is more important to remove, goat or rabbit?
Depends on the situation. If it's early game where they don't have much lore, I'm probably going to aim for the goat first, just because it's like, okay, let's say they're at, 4 or 5 lore, they play the goat. Okay, they go to 6. Them going to 7 lore right now is not going to be a big game changer for me. So I'm going to get rid of the goat early on. If it's late game and, they're at like above, I would say 15 lore, I want to be careful on giving them lore. So I'm going to aim for the rabbit because, yeah, they're going to get a card, but I don't want you to constantly be gaining cards.
So it's more a question of whether you would want to give them the edge on lore or card advantage.
Yeah, basically. And something that should be mentioned is if you don't have ways to get rid of Arthur, but you have ways to get rid of everything else, which in a world that's not, I mean, if you have a way to get rid of one thing, you should have a way to get rid of the other. But let's just say in a world you want them to have the Arthur out, maybe because you've played a John Silver and given him Reckless or something along that line. Aiming for the pieces also helps too, because they have to have something out for them to be able to use Arthur's ability.
But the ink doesn't have to be dry on what they bounce back, which is where I've run into issues where
True.
I'll remove on my turn one thing and then they'll have another low drop card to pop down. He quests it immediately to lore where they, don't even have to wait for the ink to dry, and they can, if it's a Pascal or something, play it again.
True. I'm just stating.
No, you make an excellent point. Removing the pieces is as good as removing the primary part of it in most situations. You just have to watch out for that annoying one. Bad words.
Well, I think that's all we got today.
Yeah, that's another quick one for us. Just wanted to take a look at what is right now one of the most popular shells in the game, kind of give you some tips for playing it and playing against it. Maybe next time we can take a look at Pappy and Popsicle.
Maybe, yeah, that might be good.
All right, could be good. Could be fun.
Could be good, could be fun.
All right, thanks for joining us on the Lorcana Rundown. I'm Silver.
I'm Andrew.
And if you like what you saw, please check out our other Game Talk Network shows, the Board Games Rundown, Miniatures Rundown, and TTRPG Rundown. Until next time, thank you.